So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Female Berus. So let's start the series. It was a typical day in West City, with people bustling about their daily routines. Over at Capsule Corporation, two figures made their way toward the massive building. One was a tall man, standing at an impressive 6 feet 5 inches, with spiky red hair, piercing blue eyes, and tan skin marked by 3 distinct whisker-like scars on each cheek. He wore a white t-shirt under a light blue jacket, black jeans, and black shoes adorned with blue stripes. A swirl symbol was printed on the back of his shirt, and a backpack was slung over his shoulders. Strange symbols could be seen etched onto his wrists. Beside him walked a woman with shoulder-length blonde hair and matching blue eyes. She wore a black shirt with black and white striped sleeves, blue jeans, and black shoes paired with yellow socks. Small earrings adorned her ears, giving her a subtle sparkle. These two were none other than Naruto Uzumaki and Android 18. They were here to visit Naruto's longtime friend, Dr. Briefs, whom he hadn't seen, along with the rest of the family, in years. What they didn't know, however, was that they weren't the only guests visiting today. Soon, they would find out who else had arrived. With a friendly smile, Naruto approached the front desk secretary, ready to announce their arrival. The secretary said, "Can I help you, sir, ma'am?" She nodded, and Naruto saw her punch a button. "Yes, I was hoping to speak with the Brief family. I'm a friend of the family if they aren't too busy," Naruto said. She spoke over the intercom. "Dr. Briefs, you have a visitor here in the lobby who is wanting to see you." In the hopes that he had time for a cordial visit, an answer quickly arrived. "Who wants to come see us?" he inquired. "Remember your name, sir?" she inquired courteously. "Naruto Uzumaki." He grinned and remarked. She informed him. "A Naruto Uzumaki, sir," Dr. Briefs told her. "Send him in, thank you." And the discussion came to an end. "You can go on in, he should be in the lab, but I think they were heading outside since today is Mrs. Brief's birthday," she told him with a nod. She blushed a bit pink as he said, "Thank you for your time, miss," and he nodded as he left without noticing. "I can't believe I had forgotten that today was her birthday. Serves me right, for being away for so long," he sighed to himself. She grinned triumphantly as 18 snickered at him, making him complain about mean blondes. "Of course it is. You rarely do visit your friends anymore. You're almost as bad as Goku," she said. He assumed it was the two genius Briefs when he heard someone talking, but he also heard someone else talking, someone he didn't recognize. He shrugged his shoulders and kept walking until he reached the room. The third person had green skin, pointed ears, and was dressed in traditional Namekian attire, so he appeared to be a Namekian. "Isn't it time to conceal the Dragon Balls? We must make sure they are concealed and safe because the party will begin in a few hours." Being able to see her pals again let Bulma exclaim, "That's great. I can't wait to see everyone again. It's been a while since everyone got together." With curiosity in his voice, Dr. Briefs remarked, "This will be an interesting party. I'm looking forward to it myself." When they heard a voice saying, "I'm going to go ahead and guess that you guys have something planned for Sharon." Two of them turned to face the redhead, but the Namekian narrowed his eyes when he heard that the man knew the dragon's name despite never having seen him before, as far as he could recall. "Uncle Naruto." Bulma exclaimed as she rushed towards him and gave him a warm embrace. "What are you and 18 doing here?" she said as she released her grip to gaze at them. Naruto grinned and said, "We just wanted to see how you guys were doing. It's been a while since I last saw any of you after all." But she narrowed her eyes at him, and he felt frightened by the black aura that surrounded her. With a frown and folded arms across her chest, she asked, "It's been years, you jackass. Why didn't you come visit sooner?" He pulled at Kakashi swiftly, since he was at a loss for words, and asked weakly, "Well, you see, I was, lost on the road of life?" The 18-year-old muttered, "I told him something like this would happen if he didn't visit more, but no, he said it would be fine." Yet he was having fun. She kicked him between the knees, causing his eyes to pop out, and he cried out in pain, grasping where she had kicked as he fell to the ground. "Liar! Now stay still and take your punishment like a man," she shrieked, and Dr. Brees laughed sympathetically at the man who was like family to him. He only received a cry from the blonde, so he asked, "Now, Bulma, did you have to kick him so hard there? I'm sure he's learned his lesson, right, Naruto?" She sighed and was glad to see him again. She had last seen him 12 years prior, on a visit just after they had utilized the Namekian Dragon Balls. "Okay, that's all I'll do to him," she said. Din said courteously, "May I ask who you are, sir? I've never seen you before. It's good to see you again, 18, since he appeared to have been close to the Brees. "It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and the reason you haven't met me before is because I've been traveling a lot with my wife," Naruto said to the earthly guardian, who nodded sympathetically. Wondering about the redhead, Din inquired, "How do you know the Brees family and 18, if I may ask?" He explained, "I've known them for a long time, ever since Bulma was a little girl. I'm kind of a family friend, as you noticed I'm like an uncle to Bulma here, and I met 18 during my travels about a few months after the Cell Games, and after talking for a bit and raiding some casinos, we hit it off, and we've been traveling together ever since." The redhead asked, her eyes narrowing, but softening when she smiled. She said, "I did. His name is Trunks, and he's 9 years old right now. I also married someone named Vegeta." But her expression was one of curiosity as she watched his expression shift from anger to surprise, then to snicker, which then to laughter. She wondered what in the world her uncle was thinking about, and whether he had finally lost his mind. Bewildered, she questioned, "What's so funny, uncle?" He drew her into a one-arm embrace and grinned at his niece, saying, "I'm sorry, it's nothing. By the way, Bulma, happy birthday," to which she returned the smile. Bulma blushed in shame as he sobbed anime tears. "You really have grown so much since you were that little girl I used to babysit. I'm so proud," he said. She yelled, "Uncle, stop. You're so embarrassing." She mumbled, "She's not wrong about him being embarrassing, but he is quite the guy if I say so myself." But Bulma heard her, gave her a quick glance, and promised to speak with her about it later. Naruto nodded as he replied, Okay. If we have to set up for the party, we should probably get going." 18 grabbed Naruto by the ear and said, "Let's go, as I don't want to miss any of the games with the prizes, as I'm looking to win some of these." As they walked along, Naruto moaning the entire time as she attempted to remove her hand from his ear. After 4 hours, Since it's her party, Naruto won't question why the party is being held on a cruise ship of all places. For people, 2 men, a woman, and a pink blob thing were the first to arrive. Oh, he remembers now. That's Majin Buu, who had terrorized Earth a year ago. He would need to ask Bulma why he's here, given that he once tried to blow up the planet. The other 3 were Mr. Satan, Videl, and Gohan. The next group consisted of 3 people, 2 women, and 1 man. The man was very small. The young girl looked like their daughter because of the similarities between them, and the lady, who didn't work out much, barely gave him any energy. An elderly man with a white beard and a bald head appeared, followed by a man with a blue cat and a group of 4 people, 2 of whom had not seen each other in years. The next 2 individuals were a tiny child who resembled Goku once more and a lady who was his mother. These were Chi-Chi and Goten, Goku's wife and son. These were Jin, Goku's mother, Bardock, his father, and Fasha, his former colleague. After years apart, Naruto grinned to see the 2 full-blooded scions. He would love to see them again. He yelled, "Hey Jin, Fasha, Gohan, Chi-Chi, and Goten." And when they turned to face the speaker, it was Naruto. They all grinned, with the exception of Fasha and Jin, who were observing him with faint flushes since they knew he was powerful and could manage himself in any circumstance. "Yo, Naruto, what brings you here? It's been a long time since anyone last saw you," said Bardock. Jin exclaimed, "Oh, Naruto," with a broad smile as she embraced her second favorite person. She had even prevented Bardock's death when he battled Frieza right before the planet exploded, and she viewed him as family. "Where have you been all this time? Are you eating well, getting enough sleep, making sure you're staying out of trouble?" Jin asked quickly, and he laughed at her maternal demeanor. When Jin complained about being a dumb blonde and not letting me worry about her pals, he smirked and said, "I'm doing fine, Jin. You can stop fussing over me. I'm not a kid and I'm older than you, so shouldn't I be worrying? Yet you still act like a child at times, so I don't see how she's wrong in this case." 18 grinned. He disappeared and then reappeared a little distance away, drawing circles in the mud with a rain cloud over his head. "And yet, you choose to stick around with me all this time," he stated coolly, blushing somewhat at the retort, knowing that what he had said was accurate. He gets back up with the same sneer she had. He smiled as he said to his friend, "It's good to see you again though, Jin, but can you stop worrying about me?" When she saw the slight flush on Fasha's cheeks, she smirked and thought, "You know Fasha has been wanting to see you for some time. I think you two would look cute together." Naruto was laughing with 18 giggling, but her eyes darkened when she saw the expression in his eyes and realized what he was thinking. "I still can worry about you though, can't I? After all, it has been years since we last saw you," she said. Since he sealed the Jubi within himself and even split it back into the 9 Biju, along with taking Madara's half of the sage's power, he has gained eternal youth and avoided being with anyone because he didn't want to experience the agony of seeing them die while he would live on. He'll admit that Fasha is very attractive and a fierce fighter, and that she was also pleasant and easy to talk to. They would spar frequently when he visited, and he enjoyed her company, but he couldn't bear the thought of her passing away before him, or any of his friends, for that matter. 18 was like him, but had eternal life because she was an android, so he wasn't concerned about her dying of old age. Bardock, John, and Chi-Chi snickered when she said, "Okay, fine, I'll stop teasing you. For now." But they noticed something in Naruto's eyes that made them wonder what was going through his mind. They would have to talk to him about it or ask 18 because she might know, since something seems to be bothering him. Not seeing the orange GI Scion, Naruto questioned, "Where's Goku? I don't see him anywhere. I figured he'd want to be here for his longtime friend, right?" Giant scowled, aware of his current location. She stated, "He's off training at King Kai's. I think he forgot that it's her birthday, but he's training so much that he doesn't make enough time for his family, since she wanted him to be with them." He grinned, not realizing that Fascia was upset about his departure because she had some feelings for him for years, but he was rarely around, and she always wondered why he cut himself off from everyone. "He better show up. This is my niece's party after all, anyway. I'm going to check with the others and see how they're all doing and even introduce myself. Enjoy the party, you three. It was great to see you again," he said. "Is it just me, or is there something going on with Naruto? Something is going on that he's hiding from us. You've noticed it too, right?" Bardock asked his wife and teammate after they were out of sight, and they nodded. "Yeah, I've noticed it. Maybe we can spy and eavesdrop on him," offered John. "Wouldn't that be a breach in his privacy? I know I wouldn't want people spying on me like that. I don't think that would be a good idea," he replied. Fascia responded, "I'm in. I want to know as well, and he wouldn't tell us, so it leaves us to figure it out on our own." To which the other two nodded. She said, "Okay, let's go, Fascia." And they left to carry out their plan while Bardock shook his head and left to speak with his son's family. For the past 10 minutes, Fascia and Jine had been looking for Naruto and 18, wondering where the redhead and blonde had disappeared since they had last seen them. They eventually located him on the railings, away from everyone learning, and they drew closer to hear him better because they could hear him talking. What they heard both confused and alarmed them. As he stared out to sea, oblivious to the two women who were listening in on him, he said to himself, "I'm sorry, Fascia, but there's a reason I can't accept your feelings or anyone's for that matter. It has nothing to do with either of you. It's more that I can't bring myself to be with someone. I do care for you greatly, and do have feelings for you too, but it would only end in heartbreak, and I can't put myself through that." The women's eyes widened at what they heard, and they were pleased that Naruto had feelings for them. But why, given that he was already married? What did he mean? They had more questions for him now. They had further questions, and would need to investigate this further. Perhaps 18 could clarify some of the issues. Since they heard far more than they had anticipated, and were now going to discover exactly what he was talking about, they made the decision to return. "Although I understand that you're afraid, you should give her a chance since I've always urged you to love them as much as she loves you." A few hours later, everyone was having a great time at the party. Games were being played, drinks were being consumed, there was a ton of food, and everyone was laughing. Everything was going great so far, and Naruto was having a great time because he spent most of his time with Fascia and Jine. Despite his previous statements about himself, he still cared about her a lot, and they were talking when he suddenly tensed because he felt an energy signature that he hadn't felt in a long time, which worried them. "How are things going, Naruto?" With worry in her eyes, she inquired. He gave them a worrisome look that made his heart skip a beat, but he shook his head and grinned. They both nodded as they made their way back to the party. "I'm okay. I just sensed something familiar. It's an old friend of mine. Let's head back to where the party is, and I can introduce you both to him," he said. He then revealed that he was actually seeing two old friends that he hadn't seen in at least a century. The first individual was a tall, blue-skinned man who was wearing strange clothing, but it was normal for him, so Naruto wouldn't judge. He was Whis, the angel of this universe and Berus's attendant and teacher. The first individual was a purple cat with a necklace of some kind, no shirt, and baggy blue pants with brown pointy shoes. "Who are they? I haven't seen these previously?" Fasha asked. He didn't respond, but he drew her and the other 18 people nearer to him. When Krillin produced a plate, they could hear everyone conversing. Bulma said, "Hey, Uncle Fasha and 18, you need to meet these two." He remembered who he was as his eyes widened upon seeing Naruto Uzumaki standing beside his wife, as though they had known each other for years. He could recall that red spiky hair anywhere, and he was recalling his encounter with him and Berus when they had decided to visit planet Vegeta. Berus, Whis, and Vegeta turned around to see that redhead smiling for some reason, much to Vegeta's dismay. His antics are so dumb. "Naruto, this is my husband Vegeta and Lord Berus, and Whis, Vegeta, this is my Uncle Naruto," said Bulma. "Well, now isn't this a surprise? I didn't think I'd see you again for a long time, Naruto. The last time I saw you was when we had that ramen eating contest 100 years ago," Berus stated with a smile. He smirked when Whis grinned back, saying, "That was a long time ago, Lord Berus, but I wouldn't say it was that long ago, hee," before turning to face his attendant. "Whis, it's good to see you again, my friend. I hope Berus here hasn't been giving you too much trouble." Bulma, Fasha, Jain, and others wondered how Naruto knew him. Whis saw them and grinned, saying, "It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. May I know your name, since I haven't seen you before?" "Oh, you know how my lord is. Sleeps a lot, and still believes in that prophecy of his, ho-ho," Whis said, laughing, causing Berus to complain, which unnerved Vegeta. He inquired courteously. Before he glanced at 18, Jain introduced herself and said, "Oh yeah, I'm Jain, a friend of Naruto's, and this is Fasha." They nodded at him. When she said, "My name is 18, and I'm Naruto's wife," Whis and Berus smirked, but everyone else gave her a startled expression. However, one person was sad to hear it. Whis smirked at Vegeta, who was perspiring profusely at the redhead, and remarked, "It's about time you settled down, eh? You wouldn't believe how long we were wondering if he would ever get married or find a partner or partners to settle down with," as Naruto pouted. "It's been a while, too, Prince Vegeta. I take it that you're the one who was able to win my niece over, huh?" Knowing what he was talking about, he inquired with a laugh as Vegeta began to go pale. "I will say this once, Prince. If you do anything to hurt her, you'll regret it," he stated gravely, to Vegeta's frantic nods and Berus's laughter, but Bulma was perplexed. "Uncle, how did you come to know these individuals, and my husband as well? What's happening? Bulma inquired, perplexed and demanding, which caused him to laugh as he knew this would occur. Don't mind that, Bulma. You should be having fun at your party right now. I'll take care of Lord Berus and Whis. Trying not to beg, he inquired, causing her to narrow her eyes suspiciously at what he was concealing. Fine for now, though, she remarked, returning to the party with a lot of unanswered questions. What is happening, Naruto? What's going on? You've been acting strangely since you arrived, and now that they're here, you're acting like old pals. What do you have to conceal from us? Fasha inquired, curious about what he was concealing. She became enraged at his lack of concern when she realized he was concealing something. I'm just wanting to catch up with old friends. I'm fine, really. I'm not trying to hide anything from anyone. He shrugged. Naruto sighed as Fasha walked away, saying, Fine. Like Bulma said, this conversation isn't over with. Leaving Berus, Whis, and Naruto by themselves. Concerned that her husband would realize how deeply this had hurt him, 18 added, You know you should tell everyone and it would be easier on yourself. I assume that only your wife is aware of your predicament. How come she was the only one? Berus inquired further, implying that he was already aware of the redhead's reality. Yeah, no one knows the truth except for 18, and that's because she has eternal life like me. They all think that I just have an amazing longevity due to my ancestors. They're not surprised I've lived so long, but not my actual lifespan, Naruto informed them. What about your abilities? Whis inquired in a strange manner. No, everyone except for Vegeta, Giant, Bardock, and Fasha that I'm just a normal human. But even those four don't know much except I'm not a normal human. No one else knows what I'm capable of, and I'm hoping to keep it that way, he stated with a nod of understanding. How about the Scion woman? My friend, it looks like she's really interested in you. The god inquired. Naruto lamented. I know she does, and to be honest I feel the same way, but it wouldn't work with my condition. As they joined the rest of the party. You know I've always liked her, and if you'd stop hurting yourself like this, she'd make a wonderful sister wife. Would you please think about telling them the truth? She never did that while 18 was pleading, which only served to highlight how much she loved him despite knowing how difficult it was for him to conceal this from them. When he looked at her, he saw that she was taking it seriously and that there was worry in her eyes. He only said, I'll think about it. Everything was going really well. He had met new people and caught up with a lot of people. He was anxious because he could see the interested looks that Bulma, John, and Fasha would give him any time they saw him. This is when Naruto heard Berus arguing with someone, who just so happened to be Majin Buu, the worst person imaginable. What on earth is causing them to argue? Who else was watching this? He questioned Bulma. Why is it pudding from the sounds of it? She asked, when he saw his uncle start sweating, making her raise an eyebrow. You okay? She inquired, growing increasingly anxious when he didn't answer. He said, We need to stop them. You don't want to piss Lord Berus off. I'm telling you right now it's not pretty. And since he couldn't see anyone else taking action, he decided to stop it himself. He ran over to them in the hopes that bad things wouldn't get worse. But it was too late when he saw Buu eat all the pudding, turning the blonde pale knowing what would happen. He said, Aw shit, you've angered me. Berus yelled as a rush of wind pushed everyone back and purple ki engulfed him. Oh no! was all he could say as he attempted to stop everyone, including Vegeta, who was aware of the outcome. It was ineffective because he could see all of the fighters being eliminated by the God of Destruction with little difficulty. He even witnessed Goku's son Gohan, who was one of the strongest, be eliminated with a single blow. Naruto was going to attack him, but Vegeta moved ahead of him and instantly transformed into Super Saiyan 2. But it didn't matter because he was eliminated with a finger flick. It was at this point that Naruto approached Berus, flaring his chakra and ki, attracting his attention. "Naruto, would you like to try me too?" Berus inquired, amused, but not as much as the others because he was aware of Naruto's strength and ability to compete with him. He turned to face the woman who appeared irate and prepared to do just that. "I have no choice but to step in seeing how my niece was about to do something stupid," he said. "Uncle, what are you doing? He's too strong for you." Bulma screamed and begged him not to do anything that would kill him. Everyone was looking around for the blonde when they heard him say, "I'll be fine, Bulma. Just know that I never meant for this to be seen by you guys." And when he vanished, they were all startled to see Naruto's fist in Berus's stomach, which caused him to stoop. Despite the appearance, Naruto knew that did very little harm to him. "So fast!" exhaled Piccolo, unable to see him move at all. They both vanished with sounds and shockwaves that were breathtaking to everyone. They didn't know or believe that Naruto was capable of something like this. Why would he hide this, though, if he could fight like this? Or was there more to it than this? Berus attempted a roundhouse kick that struck his side and sent him back, but there was no grunt of pain or anything from the redhead. "What on earth am I witnessing? Is Uncle Naruto actually me? Why does he think we wouldn't want to know how strong he was?" Bulma asked herself, but her query was heard by everybody. Thasha continued to focus on the fight while saying, "I'm not sure, but I feel that there's more to it than just his fighting," while John was casting a suspicious glance at 18. "Don't you know something?" With her brows narrowed, she asked. Upon receiving the response, 18 informed her. "Yes, I do, but it's not my secret to tell. Now, though, that he's showing what he can do, he'll be explaining things when this is done." Returning to Naruto and Berus, they had just finished fighting when Naruto displayed odd hand signals. Powerful breath, lightning release bullet. They had to cover their eyes due to the intensity of the lightning that suddenly lit up Naruto's hand. When they were able to see again, they saw that his entire fist was covered in lightning. What they saw next was amazing. Berus had to exert a little more strength as he held his hand out, covering it with Hawkeye energy, and caught the lightning bolt, which instantly disintegrated upon contact. They would have continued, but they heard someone scream out to Berus, and when they turned to discover it was Goku, they disengaged. Naruto took advantage of the situation to charge him as he attempted a thrust, but his hand was stopped as Berus attempted another kick, which was also held, preventing them from capitalizing. Berus hummed, "Unless you finally figured out the Super Saiyan God prophecy, you shouldn't have returned." Goku came to a halt before Berus, who was now above the water. "I haven't worked out all the kinks yet, but I do know I can't let you blow up the earth. My very name is Destruction. Believe me, Lord Berus," Goku said with a nod of comprehension. "But could you kindly spare us for this one time?" Everyone was taken aback by this as Berus hummed, Will you continue to fight me if I do? Berus inquired, a little amused by the query. Then he had an idea. Yeah, I would love to settle the score, but I'm sure I'll get killed. No matter what power level I'm at, it won't be a fair fight, he added. Taken by surprise, Goku exclaimed, Hey, Lord Beerus, I need a minute to try one last insane idea. What is the idea for? The god inquired in a peculiar manner. For calling forth your desired encounter with the Super Saiyan God. I believe I know how to do it now, Goku said, but it won't be easy. Beerus sighed. I only need 5 minutes, just a little time. That's all I need. All right, he informed the Saiyan. You have 5 minutes. Goku, what are your plans? What is the orange GI wearing Saiyan up to? Inquired Naruto. Goku remarked. You will see. And Naruto nodded. Eternal Shinran, I call you forth by your name. Then, as Naruto looked at Beerus, who had landed next to Whis, who had to obey commands, Shinran shot from the balls. You have summoned me. I will grant you 3 wishes. Now speak. I'm gonna make this quick, Shinran. Have you ever heard of a Super Saiyan God? Yes, I have. Is it your wish to know whether I know of the Saiyan God? The dragon responded. He said to his longtime friend, Well, this should be interesting, don't you think, Lord Beerus? Though Naruto was aware of this, he was interested to see how things would turn out. I cannot, for one does not exist. The Super Saiyan God can only remain temporarily in your world when multiple Saiyans project their energy onto another, Shinran stated. Unable to comprehend, Goku questioned, Can you go over that one more time? Shinran became irate and said, So many questions, but no wishes. Before, the dragon began to gaze about and perspire. Well, it's kinda for Lord Beerus. He said he'll blow up the earth if he doesn't get one, Goku explained. What? He's here? Shinran asked, shocking everyone even more because they hadn't witnessed Shinran become so, well, shocked. Lord Beerus, pleased to meet you. I've heard things, Shinran said. Beerus remarked. Likewise, but I'm in a hurry, so tell me how to summon the Super Saiyan God. But the dragon also noticed Naruto beside him, which made him even more anxious. Without averting his gaze from the two, Shinran exclaimed, Is that Naruto Uzumaki too? She asked aloud. Wait, you know my uncle as well? How is that possible? Fasha yelled out. After you tell us about the Super Saiyan God, I want you to tell us about Naruto Uzumaki. They nodded, and although Naruto frowned somewhat because he knew his secret would soon be revealed, 18 put a hand on his shoulder and smiled to reassure him that everything would be all right. Long ago, a small group of pure-hearted Saiyans questioned the evil committed by their race. The good Saiyans decided to lead a revolt against the bad. To ensure victory, they pulled their powers together to create a savior, a Super Saiyan God. Shinran explained to them all. The savior easily defeated the evil Saiyans with their immense power, but he then vanished as quickly as he came, as the energy the Saiyans offered him could not last for long. Shinran told them, in time evil began to take root once again on planet Vegeta, and the memory of the Super Saiyan God became myth, then lost altogether, but I still know how to summon him. Are you following all this, Vegeta? Goku murmured. I've never heard him talk for this long. And Bulma and Krillin nodded in agreement. At his fellow Saiyan, Vegeta snarled, Shut up! He's explaining it. 5 scions with righteous hearts must join hands and instill their inner light into another, with his friend's energy flowing through him. The scion then shall take the form of a super scion god. I have given you the knowledge you desire. Your wish has been fulfilled. Chiron told them, as he looked to Berus before looking back. Now for Naruto Uzumaki. Long ago, thousands of years ago, there was a being known as the Sage of Six Paths, who was the person to introduce Ninshu to people in order to bring peace to everyone. But in time it changed from Ninshu to ninjutsu, which was used for war. Throughout the years he and his brother battled a being known as the Jubi, or the 10-tailed beast, which had enough power to destroy the world. In order to defeat it, the brothers decided that they couldn't kill it, so they had to do the next best thing, which was to seal it into something or someone. The sage had sealed the beast into himself, making him the first Jinchuriki to prevent more destruction from happening. Due to the power of the beast, he couldn't hold it for long, so he separated it into 9 other beasts, with the 1 tails known as Shikaku, the 2 tails, Matatabi, the 3 tails, Isabu, the 4 tails, Son Goku, which got a shocked look from the scion having his name be used before, the 5 tails Koko, the 6 tails Saiken, the 7 tails Chome, the 8 tails Gyuki, and lastly the 9 tails Kurama. Over the years they would try to carry on his legacy, but as time went by people would look for them in order to use their power. A man by the name of Hashirama Senju, who had a special ability called Mokuton, which was able to nullify chakra, including the tailed beasts. He, along with his best friend Madara Uchiha, created the first ever shinobi village that was called Konohagakure, or the village hidden in the leaves. Hashirama became the first Hokage, and not long after other villages were created, with 4 others being named the 5 great nations, with each pertaining to an element. There was the Sunagakure, land of wind, Kumogakure, land of lightning, Iwagakure, land of earth, and Kirigakure, land of water. During Hashirama's time, he used his Mokuton to capture the Biju, and as an act of peace, he distributed them between the villages. But it proved a wrong thing to do, because they would end up being used as weapons for the villages. They would seal the Biju into hosts, so they could use the Biju's powers. It wasn't until many years later, when Naruto Uzumaki, the son of Minato Namikaze, and Kushina Uzumaki, who was the 2nd Jinchuriki of Kurama, had become the 3rd Jinchuriki for Kurama. When the 4th Great Ninja War took place, Naruto fought the 10 Tails himself along with Madara Uchiha, and managed to not only defeat them, but he sealed it in himself along with half of his enemy's power that was granted to him by the Sage of Six Paths, giving him power that would make him eternal, but not immortal. Chiron explained, "Your wish is granted, farewell," he said, disappearing from everyone. It was quite a lot to process to learn that he was not only powerful but also eternally young. It seemed that he had existed for thousands of years, and Fascia, Bulma, John, Goku, and a few others felt sorry for him and understood why he would be so far away from them. Fascia in particular realized that his inability to bear the thought of losing his loved ones, especially those he would be intimate with, was the reason he called it a curse. Berus interrupted their thoughts, feeling a little irritated at being overlooked. "Now that you have your information, can we get a move on with the Super Saiyan God? I've been waiting for too long to fight one," he said. As the other Scions assembled for the ceremony, Goku said, "Of course, sorry Lord Berus, the ritual follows DBS canon." Although Goku's appearance was different, Naruto could tell that not much had changed. He appeared younger by a few years, slimmer, and his eyes and hair were red, and his aura was flaming red. He had succeeded in becoming a Super Saiyan god, and he could feel the god ki emanating from him. He was also much stronger than he had been before, but how long would he wonder? Eager for his battle, Berus inquired, "How do you feel, Saiyan?" As their combat began, Goku yelled with eagerness, "Like a god, Lord Berus, let's do this!" The angel hummed in contemplation as Naruto said, "Well, this should be an interesting fight to see. An actual Super Saiyan god fighting a god of destruction should be interesting. Don't you think so, Whis?" "Very much so. I wonder how well Goku will do now against Lord Beerus," Whis replied. Bulma stated solemnly, "Okay, Uncle, now I have questions that need answers too." John, who was a little offended by what she had discovered about her friend, said, "As do we, Naruto. Were you ever going to tell us?" He made them feel a little awful about it by saying, "No, and for good reason. I'd lived for thousands of years, like Sharon said, and it's hard having lived this long and not get close to people." Understanding how difficult this must have been for him, the blue-haired scientist frowned and remarked, "It's just a lot to take in, but it does explain a couple of things, like you never seem to age, and why you were so distant to us over the years. Actually, that part about my longevity is true. The Uzumakis could live for a couple hundred years and not look their age," Naruto stated. Whis agreed with him and said, "True, he's not wrong. We met the people of the Uzumaki clan, and they were very interesting people." With a bashful nod of agreement, Fascia said, "Naruto, can we talk to you after this whole thing is over?" "You, I'm sure," he answered tremblingly, unsure of what they wanted to discuss with him. Goten pouted, hoping to witness the altercation his father was in. "Look at Dad go! It's too bad I can't see how they're doing, though," he said. Gohan inquired, "Is there any way we can see what's going on?" Bulma proposed, "We can use the ship to get a better look," and everyone began to agree. As they turned to watch Naruto's aura flash, they felt pressure pressing down on them, halting them in their tracks. When they nodded at him, his aura vanished, causing them to relax. "You'll stay here as the fight goes on? That would be a terrible idea, to try to follow them with a ship, no less. Do you understand me, guys?" he said, narrowing his eyes. Wanting to witness the action as well, Piccolo questioned, "But how will we be able to watch the fight?" He questioned his friend. "Whis, do you mind?" And the friend nodded. "Not at all," he said, tapping his staff as Goku and Beerus were shown in an orb. As he and everyone else watched the fight, he smiled and said, "That should do it, right? Oh, Naruto, before I forget to mention, my siblings along with most of their destroyers are wanting you to stop by sometime with food," Whis recalled, shocking everyone who heard. Not knowing how to react to the knowledge that there are more gods like them, Bulma yelled, "There is more than just Lord Beerus and you, Whis." "Indeed there are," was his straightforward response. She repeated, "And Naruto knows them all?" He nodded. "How?" "That's a story for another time," he replied sharply. "But I'll see about getting with them and the others. I haven't seen any of the angels or gods in over 1,000 years or so. It would be good to see them again. I'll have to set up a barbecue, and I can let you know when it'll be. I do miss your sisters and brothers along with Lady Helles. Are they keeping their gods in line still? Have you heard anything about Lady Helles?" He chuckled as he recalled his previous visits and how well he got along with the four women. You know how they are. They keep them in line, and I'll be sure to let them know about the barbecue. And last I heard Lady Helles was doing fine, but she's been asking about you lately, he said with a sly smile while observing his blush. Unaware that she frequently desired to spend time with him, he made the female scion glare in jealousy at the idea of him with a deity woman. But 18 was grinning because he had already told her about the other gods. I doubt anyone can resist coming since your cooking is so divine, Whis exclaimed, practically drooling at the prospect of tasting his food once more. Oh, you realize that what he says is accurate. You've spent a lot of time with them throughout your eternal life, and Fascia isn't happy about the attention you've received from them either. Kurama smiled as he mocked his host. Those three angels and Helles are very exotic and beautiful, and they would live as long as you would, Matatabi said. I still say you should mate with them, Naruto-kun. You deserve a lot of happiness too. I know you are 18, but you know she wants you to have more than one wife or mate. Since he had consistently avoided them, she had always been worried about Naruto's happiness and had always wanted him to settle down with someone or a group. The Biju could sense the sadness in his voice as he cut the connection. True, 'cause Vados, Helles, and Margarita may live forever, but they have their duties as deities, and furthermore, they wouldn't want someone as damaged as I am. It's a miracle that 18 was interested in me and married me. Not only that, but Helles would be too busy with her duty as god and I can't distract her from that. So for now I'm content with my life as it is, he said. Naruto was taken aback by Goku's extreme drive for the god and remarked, well, looks like Berus is taking this more seriously if he has to reveal his aura like that. I'm surprised too, but I also know how tenacious scions can be and wonder how much longer he can hold on for, Whis said with interest. It takes a lot to get your attention, Whis. I can attest to that, he said with a chuckle, recalling how Berus had given him the beating of his life when they first met, but it was nothing in comparison to what he endured in that fight. Whis remarked, perhaps, but it did impress Lord Berus despite the outcome of the battle, as he did offer to train you since you had nearly unlimited amount of potential. And Naruto nodded. Naruto had agreed to have the two train him, and was appreciative of everything they had done for him. You were trained by these two? What was it like? Krillin inquired as he entered the discussion, curious about what it would be like to receive training from gods. But I got much stronger than I ever thought possible. Sure, I'm no scion, but I could do all right against Lord Berus now. Naruto shrugged with a warm smile. It was hell, was all he muttered, enjoying the looks he received from everyone as he laughed at their responses. Once more startling everyone by revealing that Naruto could defeat Lord Berus if he so desired, Whis stated, all right? You were told that if you truly wanted, you could overcome him if you really tried and wanted to. But for some reason you stopped training with us all those years ago, Whis asked with a distinct tone of intrigue. Oh my, it looks like Goku's Super Saiyan God powers have reached their time limit. I wonder what he'll do now that he doesn't have the powers of a deity anymore. As they and everyone else watched Goku continue his battle with the cat god, Naruto remarked, we'll just have to watch and see what happens. He was still keeping up with him despite losing his god powers, which surprised him and Whis, who had not anticipated that. They watched the remainder of the fight. When Naruto noticed that Goku was completely exhausted and that Berus was launching an attack that would seriously harm him, he immediately flew up to where they were. No one had anticipated that he would do so because they had also noticed what was happening and were becoming concerned, but Whis remained cheerful the entire time. Despite his isolation, Naruto was still willing to fight for others. Goku didn't look great after fighting Berus with all of his energy, and now that he was fully depleted, he didn't know what to do. He could see that Berus was charging a kind of giant ki bomb, and he knew he couldn't stop it because he didn't even have enough ki to change into a Super Saiyan. As he held his attack with both hands, Berus yelled, "This is the end, Goku! You fought well, but it wasn't enough for your planet." He threw the attack at Goku, thinking it would end, but it stopped as if someone was holding it. What shocked him next was that it was beginning to get smaller and smaller until he could see it swirling into something. He could see what was happening and realized it was Naruto's doing. He also noticed that his eyes were different, not their usual blue, but were yellow in one eye with an odd pattern, and the other was purple with dots. Berus replied, "So you decided to interfere, haven't you, Naruto?" anticipating his arrival to save the day. As Berus looked at him for a bit before he sighed, he cracked his knuckles and said, "I can't let you kill Goku or destroy the planet for that matter. Why don't we settle this like we used to? They've done all they can, so why not let me have a go?" Before Goku passed out, Naruto caught him. He said in a cryptic manner, "No, I can't change my decision, and I know if we were to fight, it would be worse than my battle with the Scion here. I have to destroy Earth in some manner." And Naruto understood what he meant. He then smiled, knowing what he was planning. As they returned, Naruto flew down again, with Goku around his shoulder and Berus behind him. He gently let the Scion fall to the ground so as not to aggravate his wounds. When everyone arrived, they could see that Goku's orange GI was gone, but he was still wearing the blue undershirt. Berus appeared to be in good health overall, but his eyes caught everyone off guard because they had changed. In DBS, the story essentially comes to a conclusion. Why not come back with us? It's been a long time since you've trained with us, and it would be good to get back into your training, so we can finish it," Berus stated as he and Whis started to go. Naruto considered this. Whis added, "That, and I believe you're really close to perfecting that form. You just need a final push, and I think having some help from my siblings would benefit you in this matter." As Naruto turned to face everyone who was unsure of what he would say. Fasha, however, was looking worriedly at him, hoping he would stay, but 18 was wondering what he would say because she knew this would be beneficial for him. With Whis humming for a while, Naruto said, "Not this time, Whis. I have some things I need to take care of before I can get back to training with you. Would you be able to come back in a few months? I'd be more than willing to go at that point." He then nodded with Berus and tapped his staff as they departed in a beam of light, leaving everyone to unwind after a long day. Fasha questioned in a lovely voice that sounded too sweet for him, making him swallow in the hopes that he would make it through this. "Oh, Naruto, did you already forget about our little talk that we had to do?" 18 remarked. "So come on, we have much to discuss." As Fasha began to drag him with 18 following, singing a song and grinning as all the guys looked at him pityingly, especially Vegeta, Goku, Bardock, and Gohan, who all had wives and knew how they could be. "This is so troublesome," he thought, allowing the two silent women to take him away and accepting his fate and the impending event.